All right, welcome to your daily market analysis for 7 June. What we're going to do tonight is go over updates to the market since last night and also identify setups happening tonight going into tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can stop me at any point so you can have a clear understanding or hold them till afterwards, whichever. Feel free to stop me. All right, so first pair we're going to go over is going to be the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. So right now, price action is on its way down to towards the 50 EMA, right? It came into the orange box that I had painted for you earlier. TDI is bouncing off that market baseline, so we're expecting them to come back up, right? They gave us first leg and second leg. We'll drop down to the 1 hour time frame. Right, first leg, second leg, and did about a 20-ish pip move, right? Zoom in a little bit. So here it is, first leg, second leg, back into the box, right? And it came down right here below this 50 EMA. TDI had already hit the bottom Bollinger Band, so I knew, and they consolidated, so I knew they were going to pull back up, right? They came up to the 800 EMA, this blue one, and issued us a star, right? This is now the high of the day. Expecting them to come back up either to retest this high or come back and retest yesterday's high before continuing short. As of right now, they didn't have the contracts that they needed to shift the market away, right? So they're coming back up to induce the retail traders long, right? They're trying to trick more people to go long or go up before making that shift down. All right, you can see TDI's was on his way up to the market baseline. They're on their way down to the bottom Bollinger Band now, which will put them, working the low, right, and then coming back up, hopefully during London, the gray box, right. These are the London sessions up towards the gray box, giving us that M, and then dropping. All right, so the bias for tonight is short. All right, moving on to CJ. With CJ, we're looking for a AFP, right, away from peak formation tonight. Right, here's our peak right here. They came up, retested. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4 hits to the high, and they shifted away, right? Expecting them to come back up, right? Do a stop hunt up, aggressive move, and then continue down that away from peak formation, that away from peak move. They've issued us a moon, right? Gave us first leg, second leg here. TDI was outside of the Bollinger Band, and it's on its way up to the market baseline. So I'm expecting them to hit that tonight or close right below it, maybe in between the mid-level line and the market baseline before continuing down. All right. Move on to UJ. UJ is another one. We're expecting that away from peak move. Here's our peak formation. They already shifted once, right? Coming back up into this orange box, that reversal box. Maybe to the 000 line right here. They could stay at this 50 EMA, right, and then continue down. But you see TDI is outside of the Bollinger Band, is riding almost parallel, was almost parallel to it. It wasn't really a touch and go kind of thing like this here, right? They were riding outside of it and then came back in, expecting them to come up towards the mid-level line and the market baseline before continuing down. All right, so the bias for AN, CJ, UJ is short tonight. All right, we'll move on to EA. EA looking for the same thing. So we had a sun. Here's our peak formation. They shifted. That's level 1. Expecting them to come up either towards the 50 or to this 00 line and then continuing down. TDI was outside the bottom Bollinger Band. It's on its way up to the market baseline and the mid-level line here. We're going to wait to see how they behave. Once they come up on all 4 of these pairs, we're going to wait for a first leg and then a second leg. All right, all M's. So first leg or M could look like this, right? Where the first leg is here, second leg is here, or M could look. This is a better looking M. So the last one was kind of rounded. This one is a little more sharp. First leg down. Do that again. First leg down, back up, and then down. All right. As long as the second leg does not close above the first leg, it is valid. If that does happen, right, they could come up this outline right here. It goes above this gray box, right? During London, this gray box starts at 1 in the morning, 1 a.m., right? As long as they don't come up and exceed this high, we are good to trade that. If that does happen, if they do exceed the high and come up to the stop hunt box, then we will wait for the M formation up here. All right. And then AU. AU, not so much my favorite. On the 4-hour time frame, they've issued us a star. Zoom in a little bit. Issued us a star. They gave us first leg, working second leg now. TDI closed right below the top Bollinger Band and it's on its way back up now, but it's not really a touch and go. It didn't really hit it like this over here, for example. And it didn't pop outside of it at all. So that lets me know that they could continue to rise and extend this high. But that is what we're looking for. This is the high for tonight that we're going to use as a reference. We drop down to the 1-hour time frame. First leg, and they're working the second leg now. It's a lot more rounded than our preferred setup, so I'm almost positive that they're going to extend. We'll see how they behave tonight once they give us that second leg. This will be a multi-day M if it pans out the way that I'm expecting it to. All right, so that is it for me. I'm pass it off to Nick so he can go over his pairs.
All right, so we start off with GU again. You have to excuse me, I'm a little tired today. So we didn't see them come back up past this initial peak here that we were talking about the other night. However, they did come back up for a retest. So essentially, the behavior was the same. I am still wanting to see them breach this level up here, this peak right here, to give me a better feeling in terms of taking a short trade. And that is really because we have this moon on the bottom end, and that's held now. So for several hours, several days actually. So I'd really like to see them populate a moon on this end before we start looking. So for tonight, it's probably going to be a no trade unless they have a strong Asian session long and give us that during the Asian session, which I highly doubt. What I think is they'll do is they're going to come down, pin the 50 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, and then do it during the London session. Again, risky trade, not worth taking, and risking our money. It's what's called trading against the market maker trend, trading against the true trend, and we try not to do that. All right, moving on to GJ. Let me pull up this 4-hour chart. Essentially the same thing as GU, right? They usually follow pretty closely in movement. Would like to see an indicator on the top end here before before we start looking to take that short trade, right? This is just level 1, so we're waiting for the completion of the stop hunt high formation. That will probably end up looking like this TDI coming up to the market baseline, maybe even poking up above it. And that'll give us that indicator that we're looking for. Probably only going to get a star on this one, based off the distance that it is from the peak formation in this previous star. If they come all the way back up, they'd be releasing too much money, and it's doubtful that they do that unless they can just continue. Unless they decide to just continue long. But right now, no data supports that they're just going to continue long in general. Okay, moving on to EG. EG is still moving up as the other pairs have kind of moved down ish, right? There's been really no overall movement, right? And I say that because if you look at the 1-hour chart, and I'll scroll back here in a second to the other two pairs, right? This is not really any movement. This is just sideways movement right here. We're coming off this previous peak, right? Movement down, come back up, stop hunt, complete the level, and movement down. This has just been lateral, right? You can kind of see how it hasn't moved in any direction really. So that's a no trade, a no look for EG because it's just what's called consolidation. Excuse me. And when they're in consolidation, all they're doing is the market makers are gathering contracts, right? And trying to induce traders both ways. So it's a no trade until we get a true trend on EG. All right, moving on to GN. Once it loads. Again, right, GN, we're still waiting on this bottom indicator to populate. We have our moon on the top end from the day chart. We still don't have any indicator on the bottom end. So still anticipating movement downwards. Pulling up this 4-hour chart here, right? All we got here is this star. TDI is floating along the mid-level, right? Still plenty of room between the Bollinger Band and the TDI, and then from the Bollinger Band to the low level. So, still anticipating downward movement. If we get a good M formation, this might be the one trade that I take tonight. Outside of that, both me and Javon are anticipating a relatively slow week. Let me pull these 1-hour charts up just to really kind of show you where I'm talking about in terms of lack of trend. This is it right here, right? So we had our movement with these two moves, but they've now been working this range here, right? And they haven't breached the high here, and they haven't breached the low here. So it's creating. They're gathering a lot of money up in these movements. So we try to stay away from these big consolidation periods because they can be pretty volatile and you can lose your money pretty quickly. And then here it is in GJ, right? Let me pull up the 1-hour chart, show you this consolidation, this gathering of contracts, right? So they finished this move beginning of the day yesterday, but this was not a true move back into the range. This was just, again, we're gathering contracts and sideways movement, no real trend. So once we see a better trend, we will start looking again at these pairs, but I don't think we'll see one until at least the next day or two. Just to reiterate, right, this is again a form of consolidation, sideways movement, right, linear, no real up or down, right, movement, long, short movement, right. This is just nothing. So that's exactly where we're at again with the market. We're back into a period of consolidation and anticipating a pretty slow week. Are there any questions about any of the pairs? Okay. As with every other webinar, if you guys have questions later in the evening or early in the morning, if we take any trades, feel free to send us a message in the group chat or send myself or Javon a DM. Otherwise, we will see you guys back on here tomorrow, 8:30 Central Standard, for our next daily update. Have a good night.